24 Republican presidential candidate Larry Elder.
Hold on a minute. Uncle Larry's running for president? Ain't no black agendas, y'all. Ain't no black agendas. Uncle Larry, he is not down with any black agendas. I'm just letting you know. Don't go to him with no black plan.
The main idea is the word system. Who was in charge of the system at the time? The Democrats at the time. The system. I'm just going to Charlamagne's point about white or black. Was it white Democrats in charge of the system or black Democrats in charge?
Larry Elder is right. I used to be disrespectful to the man, but I can see his points now because I do see the leftists, how they use racism to fuel a lot of their vote and don't do jack for black people. Since civil rights, it's been a wrap.
Let's jump right into it. Why are you running for president?
Well, I'm running as an America First mega guy.
Dang, he doing a mega. Make America great.
So the question is, what do you bring to the table?
You said MAGA.
MAGA.
Okay.
MAGA.
And the answer is, I bring a lot of issues to the table that I feel our side is not talking enough about, if at all.
Okay.
For example, the number one social problem in America by far is the epidemic, not of COVID, but of fatherlessness.
Okay.
70% of black kids today enter the world without a father in the home, married to the mother, up from 25% back in 1965. Now 25% of white kids enter the world today without a father in the home, married to the mother. And the stats are clear. Even Barack Obama once cited them. If you're raised without a dad, you're 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime.
5 times.
9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail. What's happened? In the mid-60s, with I think the best of intentions, a Democrat named Lyndon Johnson launched what he called the War on Poverty. And since then, we have incentivized women to marry the government and incentivized men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility.
The government says, look, the man cannot be in the household. You're going to kick him out. When you need the man and you need the woman in order to survive, you're going to stick together. That's the whole purpose of coming together in a marriage. But now, if you got the government, you're married to the government. Well, you are in a relationship. You got one to pay the bills. That's what the man position was, Uncle Larry, when he says that we should raise fatherless homes. Straight up, I think the male presence is the most important part. If the head falls, so does the body. 100% agree with you. So I would love to know what you're going to do in order to get men back into the home.
Here's the problem. If you look at a young black male, age 10 to 43, that's young to me because I'm 71 years old.
Damn,
a young black man in that demo is 13 times more likely to be murdered than a young white man, same demo. Young black man, real young, 19 and under, the number one.
Hold on. This joker said 13 times more likely to get murdered. Y'all, that it don't sound like a big number, but you take that number, multiply it by 1. That's 13. Multiply it by 2. Oh, that's still an easy number. That's 26. Multiplied by 3. Now you start getting into those upper numbers, man. Yo, just look at it from Chicago, point blank, period. What you gonna do, Uncle Larry? Get us back in the crib.
It's homicide, almost always at the hands of another young black male. Same demo for whites. The number one cause of preventable death is unintentional deaths. That includes drug overdoses, automobile accidents, drowning.
Hold on a minute. Negroes kill each other. And white people accidentally die. It's some bugs.
It's not until they get to number 4 that death is the cause. In America, 60% of the shootings, the robberies, and the homicides are committed by black people, often against other black people.
60%. We
of
killing
the
each other.
Homicides in this country, half of them are black victims, almost all killed by other blacks. How do you explain that if it isn't for the absence of father? Genetically inclined to commit more crime? I doubt it.
Nope.
And the go-to reaction often is poverty and systemic racism. Here's the problem. 1940, when there was blatant racism, this was before Brown versus Board of Education, before the Civil Rights Act of 64, KKK was still alive and well, 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. Now it's about 14%. You can't blame it on poverty. You can't blame it on racism. It is the breakdown of the nuclear intact family, and neither side is talking about it. The left doesn't talk about it because they caused it with the welfare state. And our side does not talk about it because if you're white, you'll be accused of dissing single moms who are heroically raising these kids, or you'll be accused of being a racist, or if you're black, you'll be accused, as I was by the LA Times, of being the black face of white supremacy.
Fellas, we own this. We gotta own this. We gotta get back in this house. Uncle Larry, you gotta tell us how we get back in this crib, man. I'm curious how you gonna bring it up, because at the end of the day, we do need to check ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We do need to check ourselves, but we need to check ourselves in love. Because, and then when I say in love, it's not all 100% our fault. We need some help putting it back together. Maybe we can get some government help to put this back together. I ain't talking about no handouts. I think it should be some incentives for people being married. I'm talking about great incentives. And I think just like taxes, man, every so many years, you've been married 5 years, you get better. 10 years, you get better. 15 years, you get better. 20 years, you get better. You know what I'm saying? Because if you really about the American people, you want the American people to be whole. And you say the census said that it's better for a child to be raised with both parents in the house. Why wouldn't you incentivize that, man? That makes good sense to do the things that help people and their families to be protected.
We have incentivized this kind of bad behavior, and it's had a disproportionately bad effect on the Black community.
Let me ask you a question. What do white people do wrong?
What the hell?
What do white people do? I'm not worried about white people. I'm worried about what's going on with us.
If
he said, what did the white people do wrong?
When you say, what do white people do? I mean, this is a country that has struggled mightily to get over its historic racism. There was a civil war. There was a big civil rights movement. This is the only majority white country that's ever elected a Black president, let alone reelected a Black president. The three biggest cities in America are New York, Chicago, LA. They all have Black mayors, even though no city has a majority of Black population. The president of Harvard is a Black female. Martin Luther King in 1966, Charlemagne, gave an interview to the BBC. This is 2 years after the Civil Rights Act of 64 got passed. And he said, I'm amazed at how many positive changes there have been in America in the last 2 years. Why, if things keep going like this, we could have a Black president in about 40 years' time. Do the math. Right on cue, Barack Obama elected 2008. He didn't say there'll be a Black female president of Harvard, and there has been. He didn't say there are going to be Black CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and there have been several. He didn't say the percentage of the House would equal the percentage of Black people in the population, and it does. He didn't say the three largest cities would have Black mayors, and they do. He didn't say the largest and most prestigious organization of doctors, the American Medical Association, would have 2 Black presidents, and there have been. He didn't say the most prestigious organization of lawyers, the American Bar Association, would have 2 Black presidents, and they have. He said president, meaning at that point, I can feel that I've reached the mountaintop, which is the speech he gave.
Man. Cousin Elder, you putting it in, man. You putting them facts in, man. I mean, you know what white people done wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's history what they done wrong. Brother Larry is basically saying, hey, I'm going to be here. I'm going to check my people. I'm going to check my people. We're going to do our part. Now, I do believe that the greater part is on us.
Systemic racism in this country, which we know it is.
No, I don't say there is. You say there is. I don't believe that.
Oh, you don't believe that?
No, there used to be, obviously. Tell me what you think the number one systemic example of systemic racism is.
All right.
Oh man, there's so many.
Just give me the most important one you think.
At the top of mind, I probably say maybe mass incarceration.
That's true.
Maybe.
Really?
True.
During the Great Depression, when 50% of Black adults were unemployed, you didn't have this kind of mass incarceration. It's the breakdown of the family. There's a direct.
I'm not going to. I agree with the family part. I'm a Black man who is a father to his children.
Hold on. Now Charlemagne right. Charlemagne is right on this, y'all. I'm gonna be straight up. Systemic racism is in the justice system. It is there. A Black man can do the same crime and actually get more time. Normally, he will get more time doing that same crime. Also, to do a non-violent crime like selling drugs, how you getting time? You get football numbers 69, 82, 55. On dope. When people who done killed people they getting out on parole.
Right. Happily married Black man to a Black woman. So I'm never going to argue with that part.
Right.
But I just feel like everything is black with you. Black is wrong. Black people do this and Black people do that. And when I asked you what white people do wrong, you said you're not worried about white people at all.
I'm talking about the disproportionate damage going on in the Black community.
At the end of the day, start at home. It's a hard pill to swallow. He makes a good point. Systemic racism may not be in those other places, but it sure is in the justice system. Sticking to it.
Mr. Elder, quick question. Let's just remove the word racism, since that seems to be a word that triggers, a conversation down the water hole. Let's just focus on the word system. Okay. You mentioned that the system was the one that discouraged. And again, we have no problem with agreeing that the family, the Black family, should certainly has some room for some improvement. But let's just focus on system.
Room for improvement?
System. Well, we're not going to go down that water. We're not going to go down that water hole. Let's get to the question. So the question is, you said that the system encouraged Black women to be single mothers, correct?
I said the welfare state, yes.
The welfare, the system. So who's in
Okay.
charge of the system?
Word.
Who was in charge of the system?
Word.
Well, it was Democrats that passed it.
And who were
The-
Democrats? Were they black or white at that time?
Well,
Word.
at the time, majority of black people were Democrats, as the majority of black
No,
people are
not,
Democrats.
No,
not
no.
the voters. I'm talking about the system. Remember, the main idea is the word system.
Word.
Who was in charge of the system at the time? The Democrats at the time. The
Ooh.
system. I'm just going to Charlemagne's point about white or black. Was it white Democrats in charge of the system or black Democrats in charge of the system?
Well, if you're prepared to say that Lyndon Johnson did this viciously with an intent to destroy the black
come
family, I disagree.
on.
He did it with the best of intentions.
Come on, man. Answer the question, dog. You can't tell me what his intention was. Who was charged of the system? That's what she asking you. Now, when you was coming with them stats, I'm with you. Bam, 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 bam. She asked you a question. What was the statistics? I can't say that word, y'all. I can't say it. Sorry. What was the number of people in those positions? Were they white or were they black? Because you just named out all what all the black people were now. You was naming out where were they then? Where were they then? Come on with the come with. Come on now. I'm with you now. I'm trying to be with you.
And if you look at the New York Times, which is left wing, the Washington Post, which is left wing, they cheered all of this.
Right. And what I'm asking was it white people? So I'm going to ask again in case my mic's not coming through clearly.
Ooh.
Was it white people in charge of the system or black people in charge of that system that helped break down the black family? It's a simple yes, just a simple question. White or black?
It is.
Well, you didn't have to go on welfare unless you voluntarily chose to go on welfare.
Oh my
The inducement was
goodness.
put there by Democrats, by
White
the
Democrats,
left.
correct? Okay. White Democrats,
most
correct.
black people were Democrats, and they voted for these white people
Not
too.
voters. I said who's in charge of the
Who's in charge?
system?
Well, who put them in charge?
Was Lyndon Johnson
put
white
them-
or black?
Come on, Elder. Come on, Elder. You know good and well what she's saying. And no, black people wasn't riding like that. They were Republicans during that period of time. Most of them was Republicans. They got the Democrat vote later. You're doing a great job of running for president. You're not answering the question. Deal with the question. Yes, it was white people. Next question. You don't lose by saying that. You don't lose by saying it. Hopefully they all dead. The ones
Black.
you talking
Who
about.
put them in
Maybe
charge?
that'll help.
Fine. Lyndon Johnson was white.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But if your argument is that the reason he did it is because of racism, then I
No.
disagree. He did it because of
That's not my argument. I just asked you a simple question. Was he white or black? Charlemagne?
even though white people are 60% of the population, they underrepresent. We overrepresent when it comes to hate crime, when it comes to mass shootings, when it comes to serial killings, when it comes to robberies, when it comes to virtually every category of violent crime, we overrepresent.
So what do white people do wrong? I'm gonna keep asking you that. 'Cause I wanna-
Well,
like,
it seems to
What
me,
did you do wrong? Help me
rather than
understand
deal
what-
with what's going on, the pathology that's going on in the inner city.
Mhm.
You want me to talk about how bad white people are,
No, I'm
which
saying
I don't
that
think it's
I'm saying that there's a cause and effect.
which I don't think it's a particularly productive thing to do.
Well, I think
No,
I'm
no,
talking.
no.
I think there's a cause and effect, but if we can't talk about the cause, which I believe is systemic racism and white supremacy, the FBI said.
Well, I just told you, if it's systemic racism, please explain to me how it was when America really had systemic racism in 1940. 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. Again, this is during Jim Crow era. My father is from Athens, Georgia, grew up in Jim Crow.
Oh, you from Georgia?
My mom is from Huntsville, Alabama, grew up in Jim Crow. 87% of blacks lived below the poverty line. This is before Brown versus Board of Education.
Probably
You
because we
did
had no
not
choice.
find these kind of black on black crime.
Probably because we had no
But they
choice
still
but
were
to do it
living
ourselves.
below the poverty line, though, sir.
I'm sorry?
You're forgetting the fact that they were still living below the poverty line. You're picking and choosing, saying this was good, but this was bad.
Okay.
The bottom line, they end between the poverty line. But let's move forward on
Well,
system.
can I just address that? In 1940, 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. 1960, that number had fallen to 47%. That's a 40-point drop in 20 years. That's the greatest 20-year period of economic expansion for black people in the history of America. Again, well before Brown versus Board of Education, well before the KKK.
Hold on. Did he say like in 1967 there was a 40% drop? Now the question is, why was it a 40% drop? Why was it? Is it because the welfare system came in and it raised them above the poverty line? I don't know. But why was it a 40% drop? Was it because at that particular time, once black people got rights, they could receive minimum wage? Because before then, they didn't have rights to minimum wage. Was it because they had Social Security? Once the civil rights was passed, Social Security, meaning that if you lost your job, you can go somewhere and get an unemployment check? See, Those things you couldn't get under the New Deal if you was black before the civil rights. If it is a 40% jump, do you give it to the Democrats who did that? Do they get it? The credit?
All those things are now under assault by organizations like Black Lives Matter. Charlemagne, Black Lives Matter had on their website an attack on the nuclear family.
Man, let me tell you something, y'all. Black Lives Matter ain't shit. It ain't. They can't do nothing. You hear me? They have no power. So I don't believe they're affecting anything, any push, any control. No, not. I can't believe he even bringing that up.
You just say you don't think it's systemic racism.
Not anymore. Obviously, there was. We had something called slavery. We had something
that destroyed Black Wall Street. It's the same system right now that's not even wanting to pay those same living descendants, because I know your position on reparations, but those same living descendants of Black Wall Street.
Okay.
And then you move, and then you go on to say that the system, the quote unquote system, is also trying to destroy President Trump. So I'm just so confused on, do you believe that the system can destroy or not? You pick and choose, sir, and that's what's so confusing to me.
Let's take Chinese Americans. Chinese Americans were the first ethnic group to be excluded with an immigration act in the late 1800s. They had riots against Chinese in LA, in San Francisco. There were laws that prevented Chinese Americans from participating in the laundry business. I'm in California. California, of course, rounded up Japanese Americans during World War II. There were laws that prevented Japanese Americans from owning farmland. The average Japanese American household has a higher per capita income than the average white household. The average Chinese American household has a higher per capita income than the average white household. How does that happen? It happens because of a strong belief in family. It is rare for a Chinese American or a Japanese.
Elder, I'm gonna check you on that one, man. I know what you're saying. You're saying is a strong value. I get that. I believe that. But I'm gonna say this too. I went to a Chinese restaurant and I saw the delivery trucks come to the back of the Chinese restaurant. And all the Chinese restaurants I done seen where the delivery truck comes to them, they got Chinese writing on it. Their support comes from their people, from their country. Where you think you get most of our cheap goods from? China. So if I speak Chinese and I know I can know how to navigate between America and China and get things here, I'm going to win, baby. They have a great system set up to support them from their country. That's what I know.
Blame everything on having a fatherless family, right? Because
I didn't say blaming everything.
I know, but that's what you're saying. You're saying a strong community. But
no, you said that's what I just said. I didn't say that.
You talk about the Asian community. Asian community, is easy for them to get loans for entrepreneurships. It's easy for them to get loans for houses.
Yep.
Look at our community.
Okay.
If you really want to talk about our community, right? You look at the schools in our community. Some of our schools are the worst, right? Would you agree with that? Yes or no?
Absolutely. Which
right?
is why one of the reasons I'm running for president is for school choice.
Also, would you say that it's in our community is systemic? It's also in our communities heavy food deserts. There's nothing but fast food places that are just killing and destroying that. Would you say that's true? You talked about the Asian community. A lot of the Asian community have their own banks and they're able to process and get their own banks. There's not too many African American branches that are able to give out money. So that's one.
He already said it. He said it.
Grants for schools. They're not even giving grants for schools at the rate that they're giving grants for white people. And let's talk about when they talk about entrepreneurship. They are giving so much money to these white and Asian kids and Asian people doing it, and a 1,000 times less than our community. Will you agree to any of that?
No, I don't. I don't agree with virtually any of what you just now said. The turn down rate for a white applicant for a mortgage is higher than the turn down rate for a Japanese or Chinese applicant for a mortgage. Now, are you telling me that?
Now even what he's saying could be true, right? That could be true. But remember, the percentage is more white people, so the turn down rate could be higher because of that. But then on the flip side, sometimes he'll say the only reason why the white people percentage is higher, if it's in a negative sense, is because of there are more of them. It's hard. It's really hard to know where the truth lies in this. On one end, I do believe that the Breakfast Club is doing justice. They really trying to dig in, because that's what you need to know. You need to know, does he have this balance to where will he speak truth to power if it's on the other side? Because right now he is speaking truth to power to us black folks. And he's saying, y'all need to hold the bag on this one. This is your fault. Well, it's easy to punch down. I want to know what he punch up. I do like him. I am perplexed because in the end of the day, I am for social justice for my people, straight up. But I'm also for responsibility for my people, straight up. We have to be responsible. you know, and black folks, we got a lot of work ahead of us. And some of it, we cannot focus on what the white man is doing. We cannot focus on it's the white man's fault. You know, we really need to focus on what can we do for ourselves. We need to, you know, entrepreneurs. But I do believe that the government does play a key to our success and how we are able to get back on our feet. The government, you do owe the American people fix this problem, because at the end, if it is fathers being not in homes, you need to fix it, white or black. He's saying it's affecting us all. So let's start there, because I believe that we can benefit truly from that. So if the government has a plan, if Larry has a plan, that's something that I can roll with. I'm going to say this again and I'm going to leave it alone. The man need to be in the crib for real. He needs to be that lion in that den. Black folks, we can blame ourselves at this point in time. We can do better. Start with me first. Yo, if you like this video, check out this video. You definitely gonna like this video.